I'm Luke Summerhays, and I love Nosepass. So named because Europeans first arrived on Easter Sunday, Easter Island is one of the most remote inhabited islands in the world. Thousands of kilometres from the next closest human, and with a population of 17,000 at its very highest, the Rapa Nui of Easter Island were a unique and isolated culture. During a 250-year period, around 500 years ago, the Rapa Nui produced more than 900 large, monolithic statues, or moai, which have made Easter Island famous around the world. The moai are depictions of dead ancestors, constructed for ritual purposes from the volcanic rock which could be mined at the centre of the island. The image of these angular, elongated stone faces is iconic, though most of the moai do feature small, disproportioned bodies, which are sometimes buried. A fascinating and still very mysterious culture. I think a moai Pokémon was inevitable. Japanese game developers are no strangers to including moai-based characters. In Super Mario Land for the Game Boy, one of my very first gaming experiences, Mario travels to Eastern Island and battles Toko Toko and their leader, Hiohoi. As I mentioned all the way back in my Horsey episode, when I was a young lad waiting for my birthday and my copy of Pokémon Blue, I would play Mario over and over, imagining he were a little Ash Ketchum, that his fireballs were Pokeballs, and the monsters were undiscovered Pokémon. I even wrote in my instruction manual, editing the monster list into a little Pokédex, with the bosses as evolved forms of the basic enemies. For me, there already was a moai Pokémon all the way back in the first generation, but most players had to wait until Hoenn and Nosepass. Made of rock and with a sharp angular face and pointy nose, Nosepass is an obvious moai. It has appropriately small limbs and very subtle eyes. The twist is in the way Nosepass follows its nose. This is the compass Pokémon, and its nose is a big red arrow which points to the magnetic north. The name Nosepass, which is the same in Japanese, is simply a combination of nose and compass. Pokémon Ruby tells us, Nosepass's magnetic nose is always pointed to the north. If two of these Pokémon meet, they cannot turn their faces to each other when they are close because their magnetic noses repel one another. Pokémon Sapphire tells us, Nosepass has been said to be completely unmoving, with its magnetic nose pointed due north. However, close observation has revealed that the Pokémon actually moves by a little over 3/8 of an inch every year. This being a reference to the fact that the magnetic north does actually drift a little bit. And Pokémon Emerald tells us, its body emits a powerful magnetism. It feeds on prey that is pulled in by the force. Its magnetism is stronger in cold seasons. Some real-world animals do have an ability to sense electromagnetism, and subsequently use the ability to orient themselves north or south for migration. In fact, this ability has even been linked to a bone in the nose by some scientists. As of the 4th generation, a Nosepass that levels up in an area with a special magnetic field can evolve into a Probopass. Now a rock and steel dual-type Pokémon, Nosepass is one of the goofiest looking creatures in the series. Its magnetic nose has collected a wealth of iron filings underneath it, forming a mustache. The vacant eyes of Nosepass have been replaced with big white cartoon eyes, and the nose is even bigger. Overall, the appearance is one of a comedy Groucho Marx pair of novelty glasses. Additionally, Probopass has a big round hat, and its limbs have developed into 3 little miniature Nosepasses, one poking out at each of the 4 compass directions. Pokémon Diamond tells us, it exudes strong magnetism from all over. It controls 3 small units called mini-noses. And Heart Gold and Soul Silver told us, it controls 3 units called mini-noses using magnetic force. With them, it can attack the foe from 3 directions. While Probopass does look pretty ridiculous, its origins are actually quite sensible. The real-world moai of Easter Island, as seen today, are plain stone monoliths, but this is because they're in a state of disrepair. Originally, they had large coral eyes and round red hats called pukao. When archaeologists reconstruct them to their original configurations, they do look a lot more like Probopass than Nosepass. The name Probopass comes from proboscis, the Latin term for any elongated appendage which emerges from an animal's head. The Japanese name is Dainos, which simply means great nose. Like all Pokémon, there are some gimmicky troll movesets which Nosepass can use to be quite effective in battle. Fundamentally though, neither Nosepass nor Probopass has lit the competitive scene on fire in the main series of Pokémon games. That said, Probopass is a very popular pick in Pokémon Go's Go Battle League. Nosepass and Probopass are a little weird, more than a little goofy, and potentially kind of forgettable. But they are based on really fascinating and mysterious culture from the real world, and might help you to learn a little more about the Moai than perhaps you already had. Music for Luke Loves Pokémon was composed by Jonathan Cromie. Artwork for the show is by Katie Groves. Writing, editing, and producing is all by me, Luke Summerhaze, and costs are covered by my lovely supporters on Patreon. If you like this podcast, please rate and review on whatever podcast app you're listening through, and please tell your Pokémon-loving friends. The podcast can be found on Twitter and Facebook at LukeLovesPKMN, so why not get in touch? The next two monsters coming up are Skitty and one of my personal favourites, Sableye, so please get in touch with your thoughts about those or any other monsters. Lastly, as I mentioned, this podcast is supported by Patreon. If you want to listen to episodes early and help me keep the show hosted online, visit patreon.com/podcastiopodcastius. And if you have an idea for something I could offer that would make you more interested in signing up, Twitch streams, Q&A videos, or content on wider topics, please let me know. And even if you don't feel like doing any of that, thank you so much just for listening. I love Nosepass, and remember, I love you too.